Hello everyone, I've just finished, I believe, chapter 37. Yep, chapter 37 of Coruscant Nights, Jedi Twilight. Now I do apologise for not posting a review yesterday. Or it was mainly because yesterday, or when this video is probably going to come out the day before yesterday, I didn't get a chance to read. We had a new floor being put in the hall, in the downstairs hall and living room, and carpet being put on the stairs and upstairs hall. So yeah, it's the 14th of August that happened. It's the 15th now. So yeah, it I just didn't get a chance to read yesterday. About 5 minutes after I got ready, the people came to do it. And once they were done, I just didn't have the energy to read, and also just wanted to have a little bit of a break from the book, just so you know, um, I don't wear myself out too much. Um, because again, this is a 300-page book. The other books are 200 pages and 400 pages, I believe. There may be another one that's 300. Um, so, I don't want to wear myself out too much reading these books. Anyway, let's get to the summary. So, Nick is realising that now is the time he has to betray Jax. Um, and that's probably even past that time. Um, and that he should have probably done it a little bit earlier. And he's thinking that he's halfway across the planet, and if there is a tracker under his skin, Vader will know that, and be probably wondering why he's over halfway across the planet, and he may be putting his Scotch in danger by doing that. Is there anything else from Nick that I need to bring up? That's early in that chapter. Oh yeah, it's also brought up that Jax and the others are discussing while Nick is kind of 2 meters away, just listening. And he thinks that Jax is being a bit too harsh on I-5. He thinks that sure the droid's been having self-awareness may shake some, but it shouldn't be uh, too big of a problem. It should just be okay. And he thinks he's making a massive, he's making a big deal out of a little thing. Um, and we're also told that Jax is turning down any and all things that I-5 tries to say. He's resistant to them. Um, and we're told that sometimes they thought brain-damaged reeks had more sentience than so-called thinking beings. And then we're told about, how he has to betray them soon. And we're told he has a little alarm, he has a little indicator thing in his clothing that when he puts a bit of pressure on with his forefinger and thumb, it'll summons troopers, because Vader told him not to face Jax alone, not to capture him alone, because of course he can't do that alone. Um, and trying and he does think about Jax's small connection to the Force, and I'm just going to read this out. This is a bit that kind of confused me when reading it. I think it's also because took a day break, not kind of fully with it at the moment, but with reading, but here it is. He watched Jack, still finding it hard to believe that the latter's link with the Force was slowly eroding. It certainly added an extra wrinkle to his traitorous assignment, turning Jax over to Vader with the former at the height of his powers would be bad enough. Handing him to the Dark Lord this way was a little better than ramming a lightsaber through him right now. In fact, thinking about it, the lightsaber route was probably the more humane way to go. But anyway, Nick activates the little indicator, and he leaves the room. Starts um walk walking quickly. And it's all he doesn't necessarily want that. And it's all that he could fight off any creatures that any creatures that might want to make a meal out of him. But because he has faith in the Force to because even though he has a very small connection to the Force, he has faith that it would warn him. And he's also a soldier of war. He's battle hardened. But we're told that at this point, being eaten by a creature would seem like one of the better scenarios. And then we cut over to Caird, who's still in shock at Perhy being there, who's come halfway across the planet. And then Caird, we're told he has slight ultraviolet and infrared vision because he's an DG. And he notices that Perhy's temperatures are going from hot to cold, and they keep fluctuating. And he approaches Perhy and grabs him. And Perhy just melts away. And Caird is completely confused, obviously. And Caird just looks at Xizor and goes, so it was just some kind of droid. And Xizor says that it's the first real advancement in a dozen centuries in droid technology to create a human replica. And Caird says that he doesn't understand, and why not just use the Kaminoan technology to create a clone? And Xizor says that at minimum it takes 10 years to make an individual. Here they can make a droid replica in only 3 months, and they can program it, etc. And Caird just says, you're telling me you've underwritten a project halfway around the planet in one of the most dangerous areas of Coruscant to replace the Underlord with some kind of half-droid, half-clone. I thought you... He stopped, but you could see that Xizor knew where his thoughts had been going. The Feline said you, and Perhy also, unless I'm very much mistaken, thought my goal was to gain the position of Underlord for myself, and you're right. That is my plan, but Blackstone isn't a clutch of Trandosians moving up the ranks by violence alone. I can't just walk into his chambers and blow him away. Some subtlety is called for. And Kerr just remarks that this doesn't strike him as subtlety. And Xizor admits that there is still trouble with the technology, and he's shown Caird the technology mainly to test how convincing it would be for someone who was close to Perhy. And we're told that the technology keeps... because the technology is harmful. It has bits. While it is mostly a droid, it is also partly organic. There are actual organs in there. And the problem is that the droid keeps getting viruses. They keep getting viruses, which is a mix of the organic material and the droid components, and it overloads the sensory system, causing the heat to fluctuate. And Caird asks why showing this, and Xizor goes into a long explanation. I'm just going to read out because it's going to be so much easier if I do. 2 reasons, the prince said. First, I was curious to see if the HRD was believable enough to fool someone who's familiar with the Underlord. Xizor stepped before the Nadiji and smiled most unpleasantly. Second, I decided that since a trained assassin has fallen into my hands, it would be foolish and wasteful not to use you. My scientists are second in technique only to the Emperor's in brainwashing. Simply killing Dao Perhy will not be nearly as effective, long range, as replacing him with a puppet would be. But it will be better than nothing, especially since the evidence will establish that you acted on your own accord out of a desire to succeed him. He glanced at Bug Eyes, as if making sure the droid was still in deactivation mode. I shall return to the Midnight Hall in triumph, having found the droid carrying the precious starter. You, on the other hand, will have failed, and your shame will drive you to a suicidal attack on the Underlord. And Cairds, thinking furiously, and just realises that there's not really any, and that it just seemed, and that is just that this isn't looking good. And Xizor asks if there's no objections, and Caird doesn't reply, so he puts the muzzle back on Caird. Poor Caird. And Bug Eyes reactivates, and with a shift of his blaster, Xizor says to Caird, I assume Caird, let's go meet my people. They're going to give you a new reason to live and to die. And then we cut over to Rahinian, and he takes a trip from his Connacht to a currently storage room. I mean, it's told that the whole trip took 8 minutes and 3 seconds, and it pleased him that he could keep track of time like that. It comforts him. And he goes in there and he asks, and he tries to find an ancient holocron. And he winds up finding an ancient Sith holocron. However, interestingly, this holocron is described as being a cube for 4 centimeters, I believe, with rounded corners or edges. What was it? I'll just read out the description. And there, safely nestled in a molded copper plastifoam between a Nyctototem icon and a Geonosian geode, was a cube about 4 centimeters on the side, with rounded corners. It glows a dull red, illuminating on the cube's surfaces. Seized by the illuminated on the cube's surfaces by the roseate glow from within were ancient cuneiform markings that Rahinian recognised immediately from his studies of a Sith language. So yeah, it's quite an interestingly different Sith holocron. Anyway, Rahinian takes it, and we're told that he'll have to replace it and then change the manifest, and it'll be like the holocron never existed. So he tucks it into his waistcoat and he starts to leave. And then his comlink goes off and Vader's summoning him. And that's where we end the chapter, and Rahinian feels a lot of dread. You know what Rahinian's going to do. We all know what he's going to do. He's going to sell on the holocron to get the money so he can take a flight, of course, onto and abandon the Empire. We know that's what he's going to try and do. I get the feeling though that Vader's going to wind up just... He'll wind up sensing the holocron and just... Rahinian, he'll just kill him. Because I know Rahinian dies, I just don't know when. Or if it is in Coruscant Nights. So yeah, poor Rahinian. Caird and Xizor, I'm not entirely getting Xizor's plan. It's not very well explained, unfortunately. Is it to try and slowly, make it seem like he's slowly getting closer with Perhy? I really don't get what Xizor's plan is at all. It's not very well explained. Is it so that Caird does a suicidal attack on Perhy? Makes a suicidal attack on Perhy? It just, again, it's not very well explained. It doesn't make sense at all. And I was left completely confused reading what Xizor's plan was. He wants to become Underlord, but he wants to make it subtle. It more subtle than just, killing Perhy, but then seems like he's going to try and have Caird do a suicidal attack on Perhy, maybe if Xizor has any goodness in his heart, maybe he's let Caird go home. But it's really just, I really do not get Xizor's plan. I do not get it in the slightest, and I think it just needs to be way better explained, because this does not make any sense in the slightest, to me at least. Hopefully when it is enacted it will make sense, but it does not make any sense to me. He created the droids to kind of, from what I'm understanding, to kind of replace Perhy, but he wants to become Underlord. So why is he replacing Perhy? It doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all, and it's really confusing. So hopefully it makes sense as the books go on. Because again, it does not make any sense. I know Caird isn't in any of the other Coruscant Night books, so it may actually be in this book. but still, it does not make any sense at all. So I really do hope, it's made a little bit more clear as to what's going on. Nick, you again, you really do feel for Nick's troubles, you know, and you really know he's in a tough situation when he's saying that being eaten by a beast would probably be the better way out. But I think you also see how he's getting kind of frustrated that Jack's getting frustrated at I-5. He's hold on, I'm trying to find a specific. But yeah, to Nick, it isn't as if Azorius sentience is a massive surprise to him. So yeah, and I think everyone's kind of agreeing that Jax is maybe a little bit overreacting. Maybe he's a little bit overreacting. Um, and I really hope that Nick is let free. We know he survives. I read Shadows and Mindor. In that book. Um, it doesn't look like he gets exactly completely free of an Imperial, but I know he was Shadows and Mindor makes it clear that he was hunting down Chronal, that got a bit caught in the situation. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I really am not looking forward to a Nick's betrayal because it's just going to hurt so much. The twist of he not being real, that was a really good twist. I think it seemed as soon as it was brought up that Caird was a master in bodysuits and could tell camouflages, I knew it wasn't Perhy. But I was really interested to see how it'd be done. The way it was described as melting away, I had to read a couple of times. There were a few bits in the chapter I had to read a couple of times to actually understand. Again, just coming back to reading after missing a day, whereas before I was reading multiple chapters every day. But it was just the description of him melting away. I did struggle to follow at first, but I was eventually able to follow it perfectly fine once I properly paid attention to the words. But yeah, it was a very good twist. But for some reason, was not expecting it coming. And I actually do feel a bit of dread when he said that, when he did appear, because I just want Care to go home. I just wanted to go home. And it was a bit of oh, we'll never get home now. But no, it turns out he wasn't real there. Again, I still do not get Xizor's plan at all. His plan doesn't make any sense to me. If someone who's read this chapter and is watching this video, if he's watching this video, now, when it comes out, please tell me what Xizor's plan is meant to be saying. Don't give me spoilers, just tell me what his plan is meant to be. Again, I don't want spoilers for this book or any of the other books. I know a couple things that happen. I don't know a lot though. I just want to try and understand what Xizor's plan is, because to me it doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't make any sense at all. So, yeah. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully it will make a little bit more sense as we go in, but yeah, it just doesn't quite feel quite right. But yeah. Anyway, I think that brings an end to this review. I don't really have much else to say. I did enjoy this chapter. Again, it was a little bit of a struggle, but it's just because of it's not really because of the chapter. It's just coming back to the chapter, and also I struggled to get a lot of sleep last night, so I think that probably has another thing to do with it. But yeah. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.